Now we got problems because, it's like the Warriors. You got all these other kids going there too, and you got the kids from the projects, from Coney Island projects, they're over there. But we didn't still care. We still went. It was great. I mean, we socialized.
Where did your comedy come from? When did that develop?
Trying not to get killed.
Say more. This is Thessalonia Talks, and people have just, been coming in this room, sitting down, and we've just been chatting, finding out about people and, different things. And sometimes we come to church and we don't really know people or get a chance to have conversations outside of, whatever we can squeeze in after the end of church. So this is just another way for people to learn about each other and just hear each other's voices.
Okay.
So with that, how do you introduce yourself to a new member? A new member comes into church. What do you say?
Hello. Hello, how you doing? God bless. Glad to have you here. My name is Roy, and that's it.
Where are you from?
I'm from New York. I was born in the Bronx. I was born in the Bronx, and I was raised in Forest Projects for like a good 7-8 years. And my mother decided that she wanted my father to raise me a couple of years. So then I lived for like another 4 or 5 years in the Virgin Islands between St. Thomas and St. Croix.
Wow. And then you came back to the Bronx.
Yeah, and I came back to the Bronx, and next thing you know, we was living in Lafayette, Morrison. We moved out of Forest, so it was like starting all over again.
Interesting. And what was your childhood like? Your youth, your young years. What was you into? What was going on?
It's funny. When I was living in Forest, I had so much fun. I thought it was like the best place on the planet. I mean, they had this park with the mountains. I mean, they had the hills. My mother bought me a little Batmobile with pedals and a cape. I loved it. A choo-choo train. I used to go up and down these hills. It was great. The kids, I don't remember ever getting bullied. I remember having little problems in PS 140, but still, it was still great. My mother sent me in a suit, so of course I'm going to get in trouble. She sent me in a suit and a briefcase. I wanted one too. So
what were the other kids wearing?
It was just wearing clothes. It wasn't wearing a suit with a little emblem with RM on it. They wasn't wearing all that.
So what did they think? What was they saying?
Get him. Get him. So I spent a lot of time running home from school, but it still didn't bother me because I went the next day. I never really complained about not going to school. I don't know why. It was just so much fun in Forest. But when I got to the Virgin Islands, all that changed. So that's when it got strict. And I didn't understand. It was like the language was different. The weather was different. No mother, no brothers. It was all grandmothers. My father always worked, so he never had really time. But my brothers and sisters, they were really cool. We never treat each other like step because they were my father's side. My father had his side, and then my mother had her side. But they never treated me like stepbrother or anything. They were really cool, even to this day. I love them all. So we never had that problem. The problem was mostly just the strictness, dealing with. It was just mind-blowing. It was all different. It was like, like in New York, you'll go to an amusement park or you go to a museum. Down there, it was the beach. Everything was the beach. So you had to learn how to swim, and, it was just...
Do you swim?
Huh?
Do you swim?
Yeah, I swim good enough not to drown. You throw me in deep water, I can get back to the sand, but I'm not floating. I'm not doing all that. I just want to be safe, So, yeah.
When you were in New York, did you have a big household, small household?
We lived in Forest in the beginning, so no, it was never a big household.
Your siblings, they all lived in St. Croix or? No,
like my mother's side, some of them lived in St. Croix, but my mother had 4 boys. So by the time I was like 10, one had already was gone, the other one had gotten married, and it was my other brother who was with me all the time. So it was just me, my mother, and that brother, Myron. So we were together. Even when I left and came back, they two were together. So It was just us three in the household.
Okay.
So it was really cool.
What was it like being with your father?
Strange. Because he didn't have no time for us, not for me at least, or either the other one, because I don't remember him. He worked 2 jobs. He was a musician, accomplished musician, and he worked for the government in the tax bracket, in tax accounting. He was a tax accountant, tax consultant and stuff like that. But he worked for the government, so he worked days at the for the government, and nights he played. And I think he played. I don't know if it was really about money, but I think it was for his love for music. Because, he came up to New York. He graduated from Juilliard and all that. He went to different schools. He made his own guitar when he was a kid. That's how much he loved music. But he never had no time. I wouldn't even say he had time for us because I don't remember it. I remember a few times, but he was really tired, really sleepy. And if we did remember a time, it was really, really good, which made it bad because then it was far and in between. So we had to deal with, the grandmothers and the uncles, and everybody had their twist on things, and it was just hard from a kid coming from New York.
Yeah.
Because when we were kids, in the, early 70s, nobody knew. Everybody thought everybody was Jamaican.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what a Crucian was or St. Tomian was, not up here in New York.
Yeah.
I never even really met anybody from the islands up here until my mother started taking us to boat rides. That's when all the Caribbean people from all the Caribbeans would get together, but not in the early 70s. You never even thought of it,
Yeah.
So when I went down there, it was like, and they didn't like people from New York because they thought they used to call us Yankees. They thought we was all slick and smart, and, we thought we knew it all, we dressed well. It was a whole bunch. And then some people liked it because they wanted, who doesn't want to come to New York? Who doesn't want to come to the United States?
Yeah,
you see that all the time, But it was rough because it was strict. Like, you ate 3 meals a day. I never went into the kitchen, We woke up at 8. You missed breakfast, you wait till lunch. You never really got into snacks. We never let us go out in the street and play. Like, we had to play in the backyard. We went to school. School was strict. You learn. You got a beating in school. You could get hit with the ruler. It wasn't even punishment. It was getting slapped around, I wasn't. And if you're not a bad kid, you don't understand. If you come out, if you ask a question, like, there was no back talking. There was no asking a question. You do it, and that was it. You don't sit on the couch. You sit on the floor. It was all kind of stuff. And then we moved from the projects. When I got there, we was living in the projects. So it was even rough because the projects down there, the kids, they don't really have nothing back then. And we was living in the projects. And that household was crowded because it was like 2 bedrooms. It was 3, a grandma, 2 aunts.
In St. Croix?
In St. Thomas.
St. Thomas.
I moved to St. Thomas first because my father lived in St. Thomas. My mother's family came from St. Croix.
Okay, gotcha.
So, I was supposed to live with my grandmother now, but I ended up living with my father and his wife. But after a while, I started living with them. And it was just 3 ladies. And one of the ladies had 1 kid at one time. And then it was me. So I slept on the couch while the lady slept in the room because there's only 2 bedrooms. Then they bought a house.
Yeah.
So the kids had a room to sleep, and they got the kids for all the rooms to sleep because my brothers and sisters and them started coming over there and staying in the summertime and stuff.
Yeah.
While I stayed there, period. So it was rough. I didn't understand it.
How'd you convince them to send you back?
I learned how to use the telephone. I got away with it. I snuck out one time because they wouldn't let you use the phone or nothing. They wouldn't. If they did use the phone, they were sitting right there. So it was like, you better be nice because you can get beat up right there, and then they'll take the phone and turn it all around. So I waited till one time I got on the phone, and I just bawled to my mother and hung up the phone. Nobody knew. Next thing you know, the next day, my mother was, not the next day, like 2-3 days, my mother was down here with my brother to pick me up and take me home.
Wow.
That was like 5 years or something, 4 or 5 years.
It sounded like he was doing time. I was in there for 4 or 5 years.
It sounded like it. It had its great things, though, because it showed me hard work. I caught a lot of school.
Yeah.
Because they didn't play with school down there. You learned. You went to school to learn. And the teachers didn't play. Like, everything was memorization. And then they had, like, the maypole. They had they had carnival.
Okay.
So all the schools was involved in carnival. So they dress you up and you march or you get involved in carnival. Carnival was like a big party week, like they have in Brazil.
Yeah.
It was like that, like the carnival. Carnivals are all across the whole South America. Everybody has a month. Trinidad, Tobago's, everybody has 1 week of carnival in their island or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So carnival was cool. That's when everybody loosened up.
Wow. How old were you when you came back to the States?
Well, I had
Do
to
you
be.
think?
When I came back, I was eligible to be in the 5th grade,
Okay.
but they put me back a grade. One, because they didn't. Because even in America, does not believe your education, so they always want you to redo your education, or they put you back a grade to see if you know what you're saying is true.
Yeah.
So they put me back into the 4th grade. So
Okay.
I was, what, 12?
Okay.
Something
Maybe
like
around
11,
10,
12?
11,
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Interesting. And so you came back. Mom lived in a different place.
That's when it got bad. Because first of all, we moved to Lafayette, Morrison. It was almost like I felt like we were rich. Because it was, the people around there were real cool. Like when I came outside, there wasn't no bullies.
Yeah.
They all wanted to play games. Like they played roundup and punch ball and football and basketball. You know, everybody played sports. They laughed at me for a couple of weeks because I still had the accent. And it's funny because when I went down there, I didn't have no accent. So not to get teased, I learned the accent. By the time I got sent back to America, I had this accent. So now I got to get rid of the accent and get back to it. So it was like crazy. So that's the only thing people tease me about.
Wow.
So that was weird. But I think one of the problems was that my mother felt bad for sending me there and not knowing what was going on and not keeping up. And I couldn't say nothing because I was a kid.
Yeah.
So she allowed me a certain amount of freedom that was very dangerous in New York.
Yeah.
Because if she had the same strictness that they had down there, I wouldn't have got caught up in a lot of bad things.
Yeah. When did how would you describe like this season of getting caught up in bad things? Like, are you talking about around high school time, into your teenage years, or even before your teenage years?
I would say maybe about a year, 2 years when I was here. So maybe the 6th or 7th grade.
Okay.
Because basically my mother worked at the post office. And this was really horrible. My mother worked at the post office and her hours was like from 12 to 9 or 12 to 8.
Okay.
And she worked at 34th Street. So she'll leave for work. Like she'll get up at 10, she'll leave at 11.
Yeah.
And she'll get home like quarter to 10, 9:30. My brother worked from 4 to 12.
Okay.
At the post office. So now you got me there by myself.
Yeah.
That's what it got. And with the freedom and having fun and everything was having fun. I learned how to give parties, play. But my family, my mother was she liked to dance. So her and her friends from the post office used to have a club that they used to give dances. They rent Savoy Manor or the Commodore Hotel.
Okay.
They rent all these huge places and give these huge dances. I mean, like 200 and 300 people dances with a band and a DJ. My brother had a band, so she'll hire him sometime, or they hire a Caribbean band, and they had different DJs, and they had, oh man. So my mother's house looked like a club, but she didn't drink.
Yeah.
She had a bar full of liquor, but she didn't drink.
Yeah.
She entertained. She didn't even have a TV in the living room because she refused to. Hey, you come over to see her, you come over to talk to her. You didn't come over to look at TV, and you didn't come over to drink her liquor. That was for party time. You want to drink liquor at the house, you bring your own bottle. That's what her rules was. So it was weird. And I didn't drink. Not then, you know what I mean? I didn't get caught up in liquor then, but that's how it was. So in that, when they gone to work, by the time I got to the 7th grade, that's when it started, like junior high school. Because we go to CS 123, which is now a multi-school. They broke it up into pieces. It was one school back then. You go home for lunch. You was allowed to go home for lunch if you live near, as long as you're back by 12:30.
Okay.
Oh, baby. And that's where the problems start, because there's nobody home. By the time I get from lunch, my mother's already at work. My older brother, he doesn't really care. He's letting me do whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
He's just tired waiting for him to go to work, which is at 3. So when I come home for lunch, I can do whatever I want. I stay home sometime, go back late. When I come back home from school at 2:30, he's gone from work. So now I'm home by myself from 2:30 to 9 o'clock.
Help the young people understand, because when I go home and I see my brothers and they don't have nothing to do, it's Netflix, it's video games, it's Instagram, social media. What do you do with free time? When internet wasn't like that and the phone wasn't like that. What does free time look like back when you were young? What did y'all do for fun?
We played football, basketball, checkers, chess. We played spades, bid whisk. Sometimes some of the guys were studying, but we socialized with each other a whole lot. And even though we had phones, because I didn't like talking on the phone. The phone was boring. We would just go to the park and sit, snap on each other, talk about things, even talk about what's happening in our households, like cry or whatever, had his personal time.
Yeah.
We were the kids was kind of close. This is before cigarettes or marijuana or beer, anything. This was like, we just got together as kids. We Easter was a big thing for us. So everybody put on their 69ers, which were pro kids, their Lee flare jeans, their sweatshirt, and we, 20 of us would go to Coney Island. Now we got problems because, it's like the Warriors, You got all these other kids going there too, and you got the kids from the projects, from Coney Island projects, they're over there. But we didn't still care. We still went. It was great. I mean, we socialized, even though we had, by the time I think Atari came out, it was a game, but it still didn't stop us from socializing.
Yeah.
Where
did your comedy come from? Your comedic nature, your ability to make people laugh. When did that develop?
Trying not to get killed.
Say more.
For instance, I was not I was taught how to read in the Virgin Islands. But when I got up to New York, I got stubborn and I got real loose. So by the time I got out of public school, they sent me to CS 123. And they had 7 SPE or something like that, which is supposed to be the smartest. And it was 7-1 to 5, which is the other one. Then it was 7-5 to 9, which was the semi kids. They could do the work, but they just don't pay attention. You can deal with them. Then they had from 9 to 12, which is the kids that was bad, and from 12 to 15, which are kids that were retarded. And I made it to 7-15. So they had me deemed as, that he was just not going to listen. It was just for the bad kids, that didn't want to listen, but they had to go to school.
Yeah.
It was a government issue thing. So we went to school. And I mean, when I got to that class, see, the way in the Bronx is set up is that you have all the projects all over, like Soundview, Castle Hill, Bronx River, Bronxdale, Monroe. You got some people that come even from Hunts Point, from that side, come over to this side to the school, and they all come to that school. Watson Avenue, Wheeler, you got that whole strip coming to this one school. And here I am. Everybody most of these dudes been in prison. Some of them went to Rikers, and some of them was carrying guns. Some of them was in gangs, and nowadays the gangs, they wore combat boots or MC boots. They had their Lee jackets, cut off sleeves, furs on it. Their names back on it. They didn't. That's how the gangs were. So I was in that class, and I've always learned that you can't beat everybody. And I didn't really care for fighting. I like fighting, but I like looking at it, studying it. I didn't really want to fight, you know what I mean? So but I like to talk with people, so I don't know what happened, but I did things that made people laugh. So I found out, hey, they like me because I make them laugh, so I made them laugh, and we got along. And I just kept out of trying to be a gangster or anything like that. I couldn't do it. I didn't want to rob nobody. Didn't want to rape nobody. I don't want to do all that. You know what I mean? I just want to go party. Let's have some fun. Let's go to here, I mean, I can protect myself. And that was it. So that's where it came from. It came from making people laugh and being careful how you make them laugh, because you can piss somebody off,
Yeah.
A lot of people might not like some things,
Yeah.
We see that a lot now.
Somebody might smack you.
Yeah, you might get beat up. You never know, stabbed or whatever. But just, people, it was just a thing, And people like to laugh. People always want to laugh. Sometimes it's just a part of life.
Yeah.
You just got to know what it is that they would like to laugh at. Or you just catch them right off guard where they just like, oh, that was funny. You know what I mean? That was funny. Let me put my 2 guns down. Now I got to laugh at that one dude. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's where that came from. It's just a protection thing,
Do you remember any times when you were something was about to go down, you was about to get in trouble, or somebody was about to attack you or something, and you told the perfect joke to just calm, to change things. Do you have any memories of a moment where something was about to go left, but you was able to tell a joke?
No. I just remember it going left, and I'm just getting caught up in it. But I do remember one time we was in classroom. This is the funniest thing I've ever remembered my whole life. And I'm in a classroom, and all these guys, they just rough. Some of them are dead right now. Most of them I know got murdered. So the lights are off, and we all run back in from lunch. So we all come in, and boom, this kid comes out the class running, screaming. He got hit with an eraser right in his face and his eyes. Boogers is running out. He runs out the class screaming and crying. And we all run in, like 5 or 10 guys run in, and the lights go on. So nobody knows who did it. So they kept us all in class like who's going to rat out. And I had to sit with that. And I'm making jokes about it. They telling me, yo, Roy, shut up. You're going to stay here longer. And they laughing. We having aggressive. I think it was, the jokes and all that. They was laughing. Yeah. And after a while, about 8 hours, they kept us in there for 8 hours. They called our parents. We didn't leave out of there until what was it? That happened like lunch. We didn't leave out of there until almost like 7:45. The principal came in there. They sat with us. They really wanted to know. And the guy, I don't want to say his name. He came from Bronxdale. He said, I did it. And it was like, you idiot. Why did you tell all this time? So we all laughed and we went home. I never forgot that, though. Yeah. It was such a, you'll think that I was like, I was going to tell, but I was like, I'll never live if I tell. Yeah, so I'm going down with the ship, you know what I mean? So that I never forgot that. That made me really laugh. Still to this day, I still think about it.
What happened with high school? Did you finish high school? What's the story?
I never made it.
So how far did you make it?
I never made it.
When did you stop school, or what?
7th grade.
Okay.
I got into 7th grade, and the class I was in, we were so bad. They gave us this white teacher, man. I forgot his name. I have to mention him, Mr. Lipton. Mm-hmm. He was a tall white guy, man. He looked like he'd be a basketball player. He looked, he was a white guy, and we never gave him a hard time. And he never treated us bad. Matter of fact, he took us to go see Fiddler on the Roof, and he took us to some museum with the space. What's that? The Galaxy Museum with the space thing and the telescope. And we were great. He loved taking us out. The school couldn't believe that he had this respect for us. And then what he did, he got us into playing. My whole class had the baddest basketball players. They beat everybody's behind. I couldn't play basketball, but I was on the sideline cheering, playing the coach, you know what I mean? I know I couldn't play. I had a little jump shot, but that wasn't like these guys. These guys played, they were great. They could have went somewhere, but, opportunity and things that happens to us in this inner city just destroys a lot of us, because these guys were smart. We had the baddest. I never knew we had the baddest basketball players in my class. All of them play ball. Yeah. And when we played, we wiped the school clean. Nobody could touch us. I was laughing. That was a great part of my class. But Mr. Lipton, he was the greatest teacher. So what happened was with the high school, I got left back in the 7th grade. Mm-hmm. And then my mother, and the bad part of my mother never knew about none of it, because I lied. I got the keys to the mailbox. She didn't know about the whole thing until like the 9th grade. And I got left back in the 7th, then I got left back in the 8th. And then back in our days when we were growing up, they can't keep you in school too long because of your age. So they'll push you and put you in high school. So I went to high school with the 8th grade, I had a 9th grade, forgot what they call it. This is the first class you go to. You have to report to that class every day.
Homeroom.
I had a 9th grade homeroom class with 9th grade classes, where everybody else had 10th grade classes. I was coming in there and my stuff was messed up, so I just got tired of it. And 2 years later, I got a GED. So it was like, I can't do high school. High school wasn't no fun for me. Yeah.
Did you start working? What would you do with your time?
I don't talk about that too much. You hustle, you play games, you live off of your brothers, and you don't grow up. Nobody's showing you nothing, so you don't grow up. And I spent a lot of time just hanging out. And then I think it was my first job was like a Church's Fried Chicken. I got a little fast food job, which was kind of cool. but it wasn't paying no bills. I was just using it for buying weed and liquor, buying my little clothes and, hanging. My brother really wasn't putting no pressure on me at the time. And that wasn't good.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Did you what would you say sort of caused you to? Matter of fact, let me take a step back. What did you want to be when you were older? What did you want to do when you were younger?
I don't know. I really didn't. One time I wanted to be a DJ, but we got bullied out of that. I wanted to be an architect, but I didn't go to school hard enough to study it. I wanted to travel, but I didn't like planes. So it was a lot of things, but I didn't have no certain goal. I was just living, like waking up and just hanging out, just going here, going there, hanging out, dating this one, dating that one, playing the fool, I can say, because a lot of time went by and I didn't realize it, because my friends were going to college and I was still standing in front of the building. Mm. And they were coming home from college and I was still standing in front of the building. Yeah. Some of them was getting their associates and I was still standing in front of the building, And I was just watching time go by and people get older and, I was like that guy I never wanted to be, the old guy, still trying to still be young, never growing up, never being responsible, always living with somebody, like living in a room. Yeah. And I think what really helped me with that whole thing is that my wife, because the one thing I really liked was her. I really liked her. I thought she was beautiful. I didn't tell everybody else that. Yeah. Because I wanted to keep the reputation of, dating, hanging out. Roy got, this or that. But I really liked her. Yeah. So I think she really set something in my heart that made me grow up. Because then drugs came out. And I got caught up heavy in drugs, and she had to go, because we got married real young, so she had to go, and I got caught up, but I really always wanted to be with her, you know what I mean? So that what made me pull back to go look for her and fight and get back to her, and that's how I ended up getting saved.
Yeah. Yeah. Where'd you meet your wife?
In the park. She came from the same neighborhood. We lived in the same building, and I knew her, for years. I didn't like her. She was snobbish, mean. She thought, she didn't like us because we were just wild kids. We just had fun. And she didn't hang with none of us. And I didn't care about her. Just one day, I think about 2 years later or 3 years later, she was what, 15 maybe? Maybe she was 13 or something, 13 or 14. I just thought she looked really good. So I just went after her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you end up at Thessalonia?
Her. When I got so caught up in drugs that my life, it went down. It was a shame. It was really bad. And we were married 2 years before I got caught up. And about 3 or 4 years into our marriage, 5 years into our marriage, she had to go. Because drugs was like, I was married to drugs and not her. Yeah. So to save my two daughters, to make sure they wouldn't get caught up in the mess I was in, she left. And a few years passed by, it got so bad. And then I think, I left New York City. I went to live with my mother, and she called me and wanted a divorce. That thing hurt me so bad. I said, wow. And I tell you exactly what I said. I said, wow. She's going to go and live her life and be straight, and I'm going to still be a dumb, stupid junkie. I never forget saying that to myself. I said, I'm going to go straighten my life out. I don't care. She don't want me. At least I'll be straight. And that's what I did. And my mother was shocked because I had to sit my mother down to tell her the truth. My mother never believed that I was what I was. Because when I got back to the Virgin Islands, drugs was rampant there too. So I straightened my life out. I got cleaned up, and she started calling me. And I was like, hey, all right. So I came back to New York, tried to find work, couldn't find no work. 2 years of that, I ended up falling back in again. And she didn't want to have nothing to do with me, and I was hurt. And I wanted to see her so bad, and she invited me to church. Now, she invited me to church not to be with her. She invited me to church for God because she didn't want to have nothing to do with me. And she probably thought I wasn't going to come, but I did. I found all these clothes. I was living in a crack house. I found all these clothes. I didn't know how to tie a tie. It was like in a knot. I was choked myself to death. I had on somebody else's shoes, somebody else's socks. You know, I had a rope around my pants. Trying to look like a church guy with a cheap jacket on. And I know people laugh, but they never let me know they laughed at me. First day I got there, Dr. Reverend Shelley Sampson, he prayed over me, and it was something weird happened in Wednesday night service, and it was on.
Yeah.
It was on. And I wasn't really even after her. Now, I was shocked because God did something to me. Like, only thing I can explain is that it was like I had a resistance against drugs now. It didn't call me like it used to. Like the call wasn't as powerful as it was before. So when I went back, it was really on in. And then, because I was still living in the streets, I was still living in this track house, my cousin's house, and I didn't care. They were still getting high, and I wasn't. I was just fighting to get out of there. That's how it began.
Wow.
So that took like 5 to 7 years of my life to get that back in order, to get back to her.
Wow.
That's how I ended up in Thessalonia. So I just never left.
Interesting. Oh, we
can ask anything.
We could talk.
Oh yeah.
But for the sake of this episode, I got to keep it short.
Yeah, I know. Short. No problem.
So I have one more question for you. I have so many more questions.
We can have a part 2 later.
We're gonna have part 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Some of the things we talk about with men and fathers specifically is being able to be a priest, a provider, a protector. Can you talk about the theme of being a father and being a protector of your household?
That's a good question because I was never raised by a man, so I didn't know what that looked like. And even being a Christian, learning from God, I still didn't know what that looked like, but I wanted to be that. So I learned the hard way, you know? I mean, family first. I mean, I got to become responsible. If I'm a lead, I got to want to lead. I got to want to be the husband. I got to want to be the father. You know, I got to want to be there, you know? It's not about me no more, but you know, it's mostly about now. It's about, okay, God, teach me how to grow up. What do I need to do? You know what I mean? And I think one of the first things I've learned is to learn how to just learn. Because if you don't know, you can't think you know. You got to know, you know. You can't guess at this. Like, if there's no man teaching you and then you make a baby, you can't abandon the kid. You can't give up. Just because what happened to you can't do to somebody else. And I love my kids. I love all of them. I didn't mean to have 8, but we have cable. We had WHT then, so you know. But still, I didn't want what happened to me to happen to them. Like, I didn't want somebody else, they calling somebody's father, or they hate their father, or he's not there and he's popping up giving them child support does not pay. Child support is good on one end, but it's not good when you don't physically have somebody there, you know? Like, my father had money, but I would rather have had him, you know? Yeah. I'd have probably been a musician, I'd have went to school just to have him, you know what I mean? And but being a father came from learning from God and watching other men, watching their mistakes, and watching what they did right and taking from that. That's how I had to learn, because I never had one man to say, okay, you're going to be. I had men that says, I'll be a father, but it's different when it's not your real father, you know? Yeah. But I believe one of the main things is that you got to want to be a father. You got to want to be a man, you know? And with that becomes this responsibility and this protecting and this trust and this loyalty to your family and your wife. If you married her, you love her. If you love her, you take care of her. If you take care of her, she'll take care of you. Then the Bible will line up. You won't have a challenge. You're doing what's right, you know what I mean? And I mean, not lording over her or nothing like that, but just loving her and being responsible and trying to take care of her and letting her know. Even letting her know my inner feelings, you know what I mean? Really sharing with her that, you know, sometimes I'm tired. Yeah. Sometimes I have to cry because I'm like 60 years old now, And I look back and I'm like, wow, look at all the stuff I missed out on, I waste. And sometimes you don't see your kids doing it, and it kind of like it's real painful, especially in this society that we live in now. Because we live in a society where you can do anything you want, any way you want, you know, and now they trying to control you and do all this other stuff. But nobody's trying to teach you how to be, you know? Like, how do you really be a man? How you be responsible? What is real loyalty? What is love, you know? Just trying to order you around and tell you what to do, you know? Especially our kids. Our kids, when we were kids, we had fun.
Yeah.
We went places. We went to South Ferry. We got on the ferry, went to Staten Island and back. We went to the Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building. We went to all the things they built in New York City. Now I watch my kids. I give them a laptop. They won't come out their room for hours. Give them a game, won't see them. They talk to other people on the game. It's like everything is so superficial. It's like, you know, and I think when we were growing up, we had the park. The park was our social club. Like, all the kids came to the park, boom. And that's where we all dealt with each other right then and there. You know, some kids went to the basketball club. We all went to the park. Yeah. You know, so, I mean, I thank God, because if it wasn't for God, I would have never been able to be a real man. See, and still got a long ways to go. Yeah. You know, still got a long ways to go. There's some things that you just don't know. But you learn. You grow and you learn. But you don't give up. You don't throw it all away to start all over with somebody else. You stick through it. You know, I might not never get that big house or whatever I want, but I'll be there for these kids, and I'll be there for the wife. If I can do that, good.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, this was another episode of Thessalonia Talks. You got to return for more with Deacon Roy Malone. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in to Thessalonia Talks. If this blessed you today, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe, for we have much more to share with you. And send the link to this talk to someone you think may be blessed by it. God bless you, and see you next time.